go. We are here. So we'll just stop and pause with the foot rolling. Some of you already started, which is all right. And let's just take a moment as a group when you feel ready just to feel the feet. Take a few breaths in the nose and out the mouth. See if you can allow the body to soften slightly. Letting the exhalation maybe offer some sound through the mouth. Some of us are allowing the head to just have a few soft movements. So whenever we roll the head, sometimes going back too much puts a compression on the head. So you can think of, if you want to do small rolls, you can think of just feeling the top of the skull just in front of your little circle of hair. It's the highest point on your skull. Sometimes touching it really helps. And you can think of a little pencil and then drawing a really small circle. Now remember, if that creates any disorientation, you stop. The other awareness is just bringing the chin to the chest. And then you can bring either the chin or the ear to a shoulder. And as you notice the knees softening a little bit, yeah, good. Feel the inner arches lifting up as you root all the pads of the toes. And feel the whole rim of the heel. So we feel right foot, right leg, that connection of foot into through the leg of the femur bone connecting into the depth of the socket. And then the left foot, maybe feeling some attention pressing down and feeling the connection of left foot through left leg into the hip socket. And then as you come up through the body, just feeling the pubic bone, and some of you may feel the lower belly draw in, some of you may lift the pubic bone up. And feel a little exhalation. So we're drawing both sides of the body inward. Some of us might take even an SH breath. And feel how the ribs lower down, but the lower belly lifts up. So there's a meeting here, almost like a little suspender quality of the front ribs dropping down, the lower belly lifting up, but without losing the heart. Sometimes the neck, I had a little neck concern. I'm just going to take my hair out of the way. Sometimes when the neck feels a lot of tension, we might notice that we're ever so slightly dropping the heart. So you can even feel the hands on the sternum and just lifting up through the heart, or feel like you have a little string on the sternum, lifting up through the heart, but softening the shoulders. Good. And then we're going to feel which foot wants to do the foot rolling first. So feeling that awareness of rooting down, keeping the heart lifted, but the ribs gathering in. And we'll press down through that standing foot and then just wait. Wait for the other foot to start to lift. Maybe the arms come out to the side. Yeah, good. There might be a little bit of movement that we play with in the proprioception, and then drop down and feel the foot just rolling ever so gently, either on a ball or a dowel. So some of us have switched to a ball just to be a little bit gentler. Good. And noticing as you're standing on one foot, what is that foot doing? So do we have a tendency to maybe have the toes of the standing foot leg turned out to the side? Maybe we can adjust them by pointing them a little bit more forward. Rolling through the outer edge, the inner edge, the inner arch, maybe a little bit of pin and twist. Good. Yeah, good. Take some time to root the heel either into the ball or the dowel a couple times. Noticing the heart very softly lifting and opening. And then you'll feel when one side is complete. Just take a moment to notice. So we're all going to be at a little bit of a different rhythm. And then you're going to go right into the other side. So take your time to just start pushing the floor away, feeling the lower belly, the pubic bone lifting, drawing in, the gathering of the ribs. Remember the transverse comes around the side body and wraps around. So as we keep pushing the floor away, you can feel that inner connection of a whole chain of muscles connecting to support us. Yeah, good. So you should feel fluid, but also strength at the same time. Feel all your toes. Mama, how are your toes doing? Yeah, I could feel something. I'm just going to be off camera for a moment. I could feel something around your toes. Yeah, toes, toes. What's that? I know your toes do always want to lift a little bit. I'm just getting a reminder I hadn't pulled my home out. I think I lost it actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did it while you guys were chatting about Mexico. I was a little sneaky. I was sly. So noticing this other foot as you have been exploring it, where are you getting guided to? Yeah, good. Huh? Keep thinking that quality of exhalation. Just allowing yourself to be held by the support of the earth today. And let the shoulders go. Let the heart open and widen and lift gently. And just checking in. Do you want to stand with the toes wrapped over the ball or the dowel, or maybe pumping the heel on the ball? And take a couple more breaths. And then just checking in what needs to complete. So maybe one foot is just calling for one last piece of attention, or you feel complete. So whatever you need. And then allowing the dowel or the ball to move off to the side just for safety. And we're going to go into a forward hold. So as we feel the feet Take a moment to exhale. Okay, so I'm getting a little guidance just to do a forward fold in standing with something in between our legs. So I want you to notice if you have an inflated ball, yeah, or a block. Yeah, there you go. And there's a really nice blue one, light blue one in there, um, Susie. Yeah, that's always a good one. I always recommend that one. So check in. Sometimes the ball is closer to the inner knees, sometimes the inner thighs, sometimes really close to the area of the pelvic floor. I just wanted to take in the feet, softly bend the knees. Okay, press the feet into the floor and gently squeeze the ball. And I want you to feel your thighs, the front of the thighs, gently internally rotate. And notice the ball might feel like it's slightly moving back a little bit, but reach the sit bones down, lift the pubic bone up. And I want you to notice your pelvic floor. So it's quite fascinating. There's a dural tube in the body of the pelvic floor connected all the way up through your spine, through your neck into the jaw. So sometimes that squeezing each time you exhale of gathering the inner thighs and feeling the pelvic floor, we can allow different parts of the body along this chain of the spine to soften. I want you to bring this into your forward fold. So as you exhale, let the knees bend so the weight shifts a little bit more into the heels. So keep squeezing the ball each time you exhale. Come forward. See if you can come into a right angle. So the gaze is down to the floor. You're reaching out very gently the top of the head and then back through the sit bones, widening. Each time you inhale, I want you to think of widening outward to the sides of the room. And each time you exhale, I want you to feel a gathering in. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about the center line of the linea alba. It goes all the way through just below the sternum, but I want you to think of the sternum, the xiphoid process, which goes into the linea alba, all the way down to the pubic bone. You might let the arms swing, relax the fingers. Some of you might want to stay in a right angle. Some of you might want to have the forearms on the thighs. Okay, if you choose to go down, just let the head go and let the neck slightly decompress. And remember, if this does not feel good, do not do it. Option here, you can have the arms dangling. You can let right hand hold left elbow, left hand hold right elbow, which will tug on the fascial layers of through the lats all the way into the sacrum. Another option is to interlace the fingers and you can put them on the back of the skull and very gently leaning the skull and the hands into each other. Just pausing here. Let the jaw open and relax, move it around. And you'll know when you feel ready to come up. So just honoring that yourself. Make sure you root through the feet, knees bend, you slowly unfurl. Some of you may or may not. Yeah, reach the arms up. There's something that's shifting for you, Candace, with the ball there. Yeah, I can feel something. Felt like there was a little, just from what had been happening, a little bit too much of a pushing forward through the pelvis, which was creating that compression in the back, but also a strain in the front. So now I feel like your pelvis is coming back, which is stacking your spine a little bit more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just take a moment just to feel this. I want you to keep this awareness of the ball today. I'm going to float it in a couple different ways because I do find that when the pelvic floor is brought in a little bit more, the connection up through the dural tube of the spine, but also the left and right side of the body comes in a little bit more easier. And so let's do a little bit of side stretching with the ball. So you can choose, does one arm want to come up? Does the hand want to be on the shoulder? Does the hand want to be gently pressing into the skull and the skull gently leaning into the hand? So you choose. Okay, each time you exhale over into your side bend, you're gently squeezing the ball, pushing the floor away, and just backing off today. So you're going to just do one side maybe a couple times. Just feeling a little bit more of a slide and glide of the fascial layers. Not having any expectations from the body, but just meeting yourself as you are right here, right now. And you switch sides when you're ready. So maybe body asks you to do a little bit less today. Maybe a little bit less effort and the less repetition. Yeah, good. That awareness for you too, Susie, is such a great one. The feet up through the inner thighs, right? You can feel it in here, right? Yeah, I can feel that happening. Yeah, and it's sometimes, like you can even do it if you don't have the ball. I like the ball because it conforms to the thighs, right? And it doesn't push into it. But sometimes you can find like a firm pillow at home or something, right? That you can just put. Yeah, yeah, sleeping like this is really great, right? I do too. Yeah, I always have one in between the thighs to help align the pelvis. But you can do this even like sitting in a chair and putting something in between the thighs and just every day, just gently squeezing, right? And you can do like, on the exhale, like 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 repetitions. And it just helps to keep that not only the feet to the pelvis, but the pelvis to the skull, which I think sometimes we lose along the way. Okay, so let's release that just for a bit. And we're going to do a little swinging twist, but just be very mindful that you're going with ease. So notice what did the ball bring for you? So maybe it allowed you to internally rotate the femurs a little bit more. So that's your thigh bones. Okay. My body is just asking me to be a little bit softer in the twist, so I'm not going to twist as much. Mm. You let the arms come up as high as you want. Check in with your breath again. Maybe it needs to release out the mouth a couple times. Yeah, we're going to go into some gentle shoulder rolls, and you just let the swinging twists shift whenever you're ready, but feeling, and you have an option if it does feel like the body's calling to go back to the ball, you can do the shoulder rolls with the ball in between the thighs. Okay, you're going to draw the shoulders up, you're going to rotate them back, and then you're going to exhale, let the knees bend. Okay, so squeezing very gently, releasing. And feel as your feet push into the floor, feel the inner thighs gently roll in a little bit, but that awareness of pressing into the outer heels and the inner heels equally. And then go the other way. So inhaling up and forward and down. Good. And then seeing when that feels complete, if you do want to do a few drawing the shoulders up, gentle squeeze, you might hold it for a breath or two and then exhale. Some of you might just drop, some of you might slowly descend. Keep pressing down through the feet to initiate the movement of the shoulders coming up, chest wide, inner thighs working, feeling the big toe and the inner heel, noticing the pinky toe and the outer heel. Seeing if on each exhale you can release what's no longer needed to be held. Ah. Maybe there's a little sound through the voice. One sound that we haven't done for a bit that's kind of spontaneously coming in at this time, which is horse lips. And you can explore if you want or not, but just allowing the lips to relax and letting the breath blow through them and letting there be like a little rumble. There you go. Feel the vibration. Sometimes the less effort is it is really it does come and go. And it's funny because when you get it and then it goes away and then you get it and then it goes away. I know. And it's sometimes it's that balance of efforting and backing off, so like that ease. And so when you find that rhythm of like not too much, because sometimes we're like, I really want to blow, and when you try to blow too much, it doesn't work because everything gets really tight in the mouth. So when you just relax it, wow, that was amazing. So just remember that feeling, right? And I think it was there was a little drop of your head and you dropped inside of yourself a little bit more, right? Before you did it. Yeah. So you feel the vibration that comes through the mouth and it relaxes the jaw. And also we have one of our cranial nerves, which is called the vagus nerve. And it comes out the back of the skull, just behind the ears, and it passes through the ears, the face. And so you're relaxing the nervous system, and vibration comes in. There's all these mechanoreceptors in the fascia that we focus on, right? And they do vibration, movement, information. And so then what it does is it helps to realign and soften the fascia, and then it connects to the nervous system. So there's like so many different things happening, right? Yeah. Yeah. No, which is great. Okay, so let's transition to the floor because we'll go down and we'll do a little bit of movement. So just feel your feet at the top of your mat. Be mindful for a moment before you descend. Maybe the hands come to heart center. You feel a few breaths. And as you exhale, when you're ready, arms release down by your side. Now push the feet into the floor. Think of your lower belly lifting up, the ribs lifting down. There's a widening through your heart. And you're going to exhale so the weight shifts back a little bit more on the heels as you come down. Let go if you want. And once you come into your forward fold again, you feel the weight in your toes as well. And then you bend the knees and the hands come to the mat, nice and wide. And you're going to step back with one foot, nice big step, and the other foot. And just see if you want to go into your inverted V for a moment. You might walk it out. Check in that the head is not straining to look at the legs. Just let the head relax and the neck. There'd be a little bit of a freedom there, maybe a widening through the back of the neck, softening through the throat. Good. Remember, if the knees are not wanting to come down to the floor, we can just bend them slightly and then transition to the right or the left, right? And come down onto the side of the hip. If you feel okay in the knees, you can come right down to hands and knees. And then maybe the knees widen and the feet come together, the toes come together slightly, and the head comes down. So sometimes the forehead comes to the floor. Sometimes we need to have our hands there. See if you just want to pause. Arms can do a little deeper of a lateral stretch off to one side, which is always really nice. Let your body guide you as you come to each side. Keep thinking of widening the neck and softening the throat. Yeah, good. There you go. Thanks, Gloria. There we go. And as you pause there, you might just pause in a child's pose for a moment. Taking note when you're in child's pose and if the forehead is touching the floor, I always like to take note, which sometimes I express and sometimes the sharing doesn't come in, of where your weight is on the forehead. So if you play with the weight moving from the eyebrows to the middle of the forehead to closer to the hairline, you'll feel a difference on the space in the back of the neck. So the more you go into the middle of the forehead and the more you go towards the hairline, you'll feel the back of the neck open. The more you drop in towards the eyebrows or the bridge of the nose, the more you might find a compression in the back of the neck. And we're gonna take another breath or two there, and then when you're ready, you're gonna come up either onto hands and knees or elbows and knees, or you can do this seated. Just wanna do a few spinal waves. So hands can stack right underneath the shoulders or the elbows, depending on what feels good for you. You're going to start by an exhale of pushing the floor away. The sit bones reach down, the lower back rounds up, then the rib cage, the shoulder blades widen, the head and the neck relax. And then when you're ready, feel the movement starting from the pelvis so the sit bones lift up. The lower back starts to go into an extension, the belly releases to the floor, the heart opens. And just be aware that you're not lifting your head too high. So it maybe just softly looks a little bit onto the mat, but just slightly forward. Keep widening the collarbone. And just go back and forth. Allow the ripple of the spinal wave to start from the pelvis as you round through the spine. Head lets go completely. And as you go into extension, just notice when you go into extension and the ribs are opening to the floor, just watch that you still have a little bit of the ribs drawing down and in. And keep widening the collarbone, dropping the shoulders down away from the ears. Maybe a little bit of barrel rolling as you circle through the spine, comes in, just getting into that dural tube. Flows through the spine, just connecting us to our central energy channel as well. Some of you, my earbud was just dropping out. Some of you know the central energy channel as the Sushumna. Good. And you'll find when that's complete for you. So you take your time, you're going to roll over onto one hip, swing the legs around. And I want you to bring the slow-mo ball back in between the thighs. So you can bring the inner thigh between the knees, closer to the pelvic floor, and just sit nice and tall for a moment. Feeling some energy reach out the top of your head. Good. We're going to just do a little bit of strengthening of our core line. So as you come back, I want you to notice that we're not dropping the pelvis back, that we're staying lifted on our sit bones. Hands can be on the shins. You can hold the thighs, the back of the thighs. And you're just going to keep leaning back, lifting the heart. Just try to keep a nice straight spine as you squeeze the ball. Okay, arms can also be on the floor. And then just lift up through the heart. So as you lift up, feel like you have a string on your chest and it's lifting you back up as you squeeze. Good. We're going to do that again, just leaning back. Keep squeezing. See that you're on this nice line and then pull up through the chest And then this time we're gonna squeeze and we're gonna roll the pelvis back. And so that's gonna start to allow you to roll the spine. You're gonna release your chin towards the chest, keep squeezing the ball, and you're gonna release yourself all the way down to the floor. Beautiful. Take the legs up towards you and just allow the ball, if it wants to stay there, to be there, and just rock as you hold either the shins or the back of the thigh. You can pull the ball out if you want. And just rock a little bit on the sacrum, the back of the pelvis. Might be a left to right, it might be a circle. You go both directions. And let the feet touch the floor. Notice if you need any support. We brought in a blanket, which I'm showing a little blanket roll for some of you online. Some of you might have the chip foam block that you put behind the head. So I've just rolled a blanket up and put the roll behind the back of the neck. Some of you can take your semi-inflated slow-mo ball and tug it and create some lips and put it behind the back of the neck as well, if that feels good. Okay, we just want to pause here for a moment. Okay, so just allow the arms to come out to the side. Let them take up some space. Move away from your body. The feet can widen if they want. They can be hip width. You can just have a little leaning of the inner thighs into the ball. So the more you widen your feet, the more the thighs will softly internally rotate and they'll lean into the ball a little bit. So I've got mine the width of the mat, but you decide what feels good for you. And just let the eyes close. Feel yourself meeting the floor and notice the floor rising up to meet you. So we're coming into this full moon again. And so just wanting to bring in a little earth support as the moon brings in a little bit more increase of activity and anxiety, and sometimes a lifting of energy up. And the quality of the aspects of nature that we are connected to in yoga, that increase of energy is called Raja, a very Rajastic energy. So it's important that we have energy, but noticing that it's balanced. So we're bringing in that earth support, which in the aspect of nature is called tamas. It's very heavy. I want you to feel the balance between feeling heavy through the feet, the inner thighs. Maybe each time you exhale or gently squeezing the ball, you feel the lower belly and the belly button gently draw back. And then as you inhale, you soften the leaning into the ball. And you feel a widening through the belly, the rib cage, the collarbone, the neck. And as you exhale, the feet root, the belly deflates and the ribs gather, and there's a gentle leaning into the ball. As the feet root into the floor and the body just becomes heavy into the earth, into your support. Just allow each time you inhale a softening of the inner thighs, a widening through the body. Feel the left and right sides of your body expand outward. Each time you exhale, there's a softening as you gather in, but there's also a dropping into the support of the earth, that tamas, earth energy, feeling grounded. Notice the widening inhalation and that soft coming back home as you exhale. Maybe squeeze the ball, the block. I'm just going to flow through that a few more rounds at your own rhythm. I'm just going to create some space for you to notice the widening on the inhale, and then that gathering, that inner lift as you release into the floor, and coming home on the exhale. Just flow that for a few rounds on your own as I create some quietness. I'm going to pose a little question of inquiry here. As we just rest here for just a little bit longer, do you notice both sides of your body feeling equally heavy? Maybe one side of the skull needs a little bit more attention of softening into the earth. Maybe one shoulder blade or one hip. And it's not always one side, it might be in opposition of one another. So, for example, a right hip and a left rib cage. And this exhalation is a chance to come home into yourself as you reconnect inward. And very softly, if you still have the ball in between the thighs, just let the legs very gently wiper from left to right. Just let the ball roll in between the inner thighs if you need a little visual. I'm just offering that to myself. Just massaging the inner thigh, doing a little fascia release. Now we're gonna do our tapping. So you're gonna check in what kind of support still needs to be behind the skull. Do you want to put any support under the pelvis? So just notice when you do put something under the pelvis, it increases the pressure on the neck and the head. So for me, having anything underneath my neck right now doesn't feel good. I'm going into the slow ball under my pelvis today, but you might find a chip foam block works better. If you do put the slow ball under the pelvis, just roll around a little bit on it first. Remember, this creates a little bit more of some integrity to come into the body. So if it feels too unstable, switch it out for a chip foam block if that feels better. But you can keep one foot on the floor if you want for added stability if you have the slow ball there, and just bring one leg up, shake it out, and then you can go into your tapping. So go into the outer leg, avoiding any kind of shin bone, the back of the calf. And so here's when we get into the inner side of the leg and we start to bring in the mechanoreceptors a little bit more. So the mechanoreceptors are always there, being aware of movement. And some of you might want to do a little bit of pressing of the dowel of your hands into the ankle and then pressing up through the shin to the lower knee. Just doing a little bit of combing, shearing through the fascia. You can do both legs, so take your time. If it's helpful to have one foot on the floor, other than that, you can have both legs in the air. It's up to you. So tapping both shins and feet. Yeah, good. going soft, if that's what your body is asking, evolving through, moving into the quadriceps, and you might find the inner thighs. Okay, and if you need, remember lifting one leg up, and you can externally rotate it and just see if maybe that leg before you go into a figure four just wants to circle a few times. We didn't do mortar and pestle 2 today, so just bringing in a half mortar and pestle, just circling the leg. You can go in both directions here. And then bringing that ankle of the leg that you were circling. So that for me, I was circling my right leg, my right ankle is on my left thigh. And I want to bring in a little adjustment that we've done a little bit ago. And this one is sometimes when you're in figure four and one foot, the ankle's on the opposite thigh, you can put your other foot that's on the floor just up on a block, which lifts it a little bit. And so I've just come flat on the floor for this one. But you can play here, and it just helps to not create so much strain in the hip flexors with having the floor brought up to that bottom foot leg. And then you can tap through the outer thigh. I'm just going to do the leg closest to camera. You can tap outer thigh. You can reach your hand through and do any kind of combing or tapping and move through the iliotibial band. Yeah, there you go. Good. Nice. That block is helping, Mom, with the bottom foot? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, right? Having it there. So sometimes if you have your foot on the floor first and then put your leg up, remember as you go into the other side, if you haven't circled that hip, just do a little bit of movement of circling, and it can always be after you've tapped. So just bringing some fluidity and movement through the body. Good. And checking in when the tapping feels complete in the lower body. It's going to be in different intervals for each of us. But when you're done through the legs, no rush. Either using the hands or the dowel. If you had been using the dowel, just put it off to the side and then just use the hands to touch the abdomen, and maybe there's just a pause here as you breathe and connect with the lowest part of your nervous system. Okay, so the vagus nerve that we talked about today, it branches all the way down through the neck, the face, the lungs, the heart, and it ends down in the gut. And so its day-to-day function is to help balance the digestive system. It's the longest cranial nerve in your body. So you might tap there, you might just pause there, and then you can take the hands and tap through the ribs. It's going to help with opening the rib cage, but also nourishing the lungs. Remember, as you're tapping through the ribs and up through the sternum, you can have an open palm, a cupped hand, a soft fist. We're using the left hand to tap the right side and the right hand to tap the left. If you want to go through the arms, you can have the one arm in the air, fingers pointing to the ceiling, and tap downward. Taking some time when you're tapping the sternum, just getting into the vibration. So just coming into Brahmari breath, if you choose, to that B breath, just coming back into creating that energy as you inhale and placing the lips together, just offering that humming. So always remembering as you're humming here, it also is bringing you back into the parasympathetic nervous system, just very gently stimulating that vagus nerve that we're bringing in today, as well as oxygenating the body, vasodilating. So it's helping to open the arteries. Okay. It also helps to release fascial stiffness, okay, especially through the face and the neck. Notice if you need a few pursed lip breaths, just blowing the breath out, or if you want to stay with Brahmari. Ah. Okay, and as you're here, some of you might just roll onto the side and just want to stay on the floor and do your tapping with the back of the hand and the lower back and the chest. And some of you might want to sit up and use the dowel to tap across the shoulder blades, avoiding the spiny process of the vertebra, so we're not tapping directly on the spine. So you decide. Sometimes the top of the shoulders feel really good. Sometimes it's just pausing and massaging through this pec minor muscle or tapping through the pec minor. The front body that can pull the heart down. Sometimes when we have a shortening in the front of the chest or the sternum or the pecs, it can create a lot of strain in the neck. Yeah. The one thing that's coming in too, Gloria, at one point is maybe massaging the pec if you have at some point your squash ball. You could even do it now if you wanted to. I feel like there's maybe a little bit of tightening through there. So don't forget about the thoracolumbar fascia. Okay, you can go right into tapping on the sacrum as it's a fused bone. A little bit different orientation than all of the vertebra through the lower back and the middle back and the neck. And you might even take some time to tap through the hips a little bit. Yeah, good. I felt something just like, yeah. Yeah, we felt it. I connected. Yeah, I connected with you at the same time. Okay, so we're going to just take a moment to lie back. Okay, if you want, you might even just pause and you might do a little massaging of the skull. You might do a little palming, rubbing the palms of the hands together, fingers together or apart. Okay, checking if you want to cover the eyes. Just focusing a little bit more today on balancing the nervous system. Noticing heaviness right to left. There's that expansion on the inhale, the gathering on the exhale. Collarbones are wide. Very soft lift of the sternum. You crawl inside, just notice how you feel. Little check-in. 2 to 3 more breaths. I'm gonna shift the flow a little bit of the series. When you're ready, we're going to release the hands. Okay, we're gonna go into canoe. And so maybe you use the chip foam block under the pelvis. If you want a little bit more stability, some of you, if you want to challenge yourself, feel free to put the inflated slow-mo ball under the pelvis. So you choose. I'm going to put the inflated slow-mo ball in between my thighs for this one and my pelvis on the chip foam block. I want to try to keep that connection of gathering in. And then as you exhale and you root the pelvis into the block and you squeeze the inner thighs into the ball and you lift your feet, I want you to take, if you choose, the block in between your feet. So you've got a leaning of the sides of the toes, the inner heel, where the arms are going to come up. And either you have the arms just floating in the air, palms facing one another. Some of you may choose to use the dowel, each end of the dowel in the palm of the hands, and the elbow is quite heavy. I want you to feel both shoulder blades equally weighted in the space in between the shoulder blades, gently pressing into the floor a little bit. This will free the upper body through the sternum and the neck. Squeeze the ball, lean the hands into the ball or the dowel. Arms and legs are going to go towards one another and away. Okay, so as you keep squeezing the inner thighs gently into the ball the whole time, you're going to feel that chain of awareness through the pelvic floor. Yeah, good. Keep leaning the shoulder blades and that space in between the shoulder blades into the floor. Good. And just fine. Where does my arms and my legs want to lower to? So no strain in neck and shoulders as you're doing that. I can just do a couple more. And then when you're ready, you're going to take the block out from in between the feet, let go of the dowel. And you're going to remove the slow-mo ball. And some of you are going to stay on the chip foam block. Some of you, if you want to challenge yourself, can have the slow-mo ball underneath the pelvis. It's going to challenge your core a little bit more. But I want you to feel heavy, pressing into the slow-mo ball, into the block if you're using it, allowing the legs to lift up. We're going to bring arms and legs in the air, bend to the elbow, bend to the knees. And I want you to watch that your feet, as if they're touching the ceiling. So notice that they're not externally rotating, they're not too much internally rotating. Okay, so there's that little internal rotation of the thighs. And then we're going to go into scissors. I want you to keep pressing your pelvis into the ball or the block, rooting your shoulder blades into the floor. And you're going to move right arm, right leg towards your head, left arm, left leg away. And then you're going to switch left arm, left leg up towards the torso of the head, right arm, right leg away. So switching, feel your breath. Keep feeling a little bit of leaning. There you go, into the floor, into your block, shoulder blades. Some of you can choose as the arm and the leg is coming up towards the head, you might even turn to very gently look towards that arm if the neck wants you to. And then when the arm floats away, the head goes into center. And then as the other arm and leg come up towards the head, you can turn to look at that one. We're just going into scissors to, as this helps to nourish the whole body. Just feeling a few more rounds here. I just want to do a little bit of lateral line work as well. So we're going to pause, shake the arms and the legs in the air. Bend the knees, bring the legs towards one another, touch the pads of the thumb, index, middle ring, and pinky finger together. Let the elbows bend. Now you're going to keep the rib cage drawing down and in, lifting the lower belly up as you open the arms and legs very gently out to the side. Now pause here, reach up through the inner heel, the outer heel, the big toe, the pinky toe. See if you can feel that connection of the ball of the hip, the thigh bone going into the hip socket. And then close as if you're squeezing air out of a really big ball. As you exhale, inhale, open. And as you exhale, feel like you're squeezing the ball, pelvic floor, gathering, just opening, squeezing, arms coming together. Feel fluid here. Keep the floor, your back gently pressing into the floor. Keep widening your collarbones. Good. Now, the next time your arms and your legs come towards one another, keep your hands there. Just open the legs, bend the knees a little bit. And then as the legs come towards one another, open the arms. And as the arms come towards one another, open the legs. This is Nutcracker 2, working internal, external awareness through the inner line of the legs, chain reaction of muscles to the pelvic floor, plus the outer hip. Balancing inner and outer. It's been our theme today. Good. The next time your legs come together, pause, then bring your arms together, shake it on out. Good. We're going to release the feet down. We're going to lift the pelvis up off the block or the ball. Take a moment, maybe a gentle wiper, maybe an extension of the leg. Okay, I want to go into smiley face. That's a really nice one to help to balance out the body. And so you might have the ball once again in between the thighs. We've also brought in a couple weeks ago the dowel if you wanted behind the back of the legs too. So that's an option. Some of you like to put the block in between the feet. The other option is the dowel in between the hands. So I'm going to use the ball in between the legs and the block in between my feet. Okay, so no neck, no shoulders, should be very quiet in the upper body. So if you lean the shoulder blades into the floor and lift up through the lower belly, squeeze the ball. The arms go in one direction, so maybe to the right as the legs go to the left. And then the arms and the legs meet in center. Then the legs go to the left as the arms go to the left as the legs go to the right. And you meet. So arms and legs are going in opposition. I want you to notice that as the arms are going to one side, I want you to keep both shoulder blades rooted on the floor. And I want you to keep leaning the middle of the shoulder blades, which I usually refer to as the back door of the heart, into the ground. There's a little pushing of the ground away. If you want to go into intermediate, you don't have to. You can extend the legs on one side as you're kicking a ball in space. There you go. Good. Keep squeezing the ball as you go from side to side. See if squeeze the legs together right there, right there. Squeeze. There it is. You feel the difference of that as you squeeze right there? Yeah, there it is. Neck and shoulders very quiet. You decide when it's complete. Pause. Release all your support. Yeah, good. Ah, take a moment here. I want to go through the arm series just to open the body. And so a couple options here that I want to give for the arm series that we've been playing with over the last month or so. And some of you might just want to be flat on the floor. Maybe you put some support behind the head. Maybe you have the blanket roll that we've done. The other option is some of you might want to build a heart bed. And we haven't done that in a while, so you might take your bolster and your block and build that up, okay? And then lie back on it. The other option that we've been playing with, and I'm going to demonstrate this one. So I'm giving 3 options today for the arm series. And the other one was putting the bolster underneath the pelvis. And then I usually just take a moment to take my hands behind the back of the neck of my head and just sweep up and over just to find some length. So you can either be in a heart bed or you can put the bolster underneath the pelvis, or you can be flat on the floor. So you choose what works for you. Yeah, good. Now just take a moment to pause here. Arms can be out to the side, hands can be on the belly. If you have hands on the belly, let your elbows and your upper arms become heavy. Good, there you go. Nice, Gloria. Now just ask your body if it needs to adjust in any way to become a little bit more heavier and spacious, but also maintain your integrity. So sometimes the body asks for the ball in between the thighs, sometimes something else comes in. Remember, the position that you held, you don't have to hold it for the whole time. So we're going to bring arms up, palms are going to touch. You're just going to have the pads of the thumb and the fingers touching as you let the forearms come down parallel to the body. So we're going to start with Cobra Hood. I want you to feel that space in between the shoulder blades, gently leaning into the floor. This is going to release the whole back of the neck. So if you have a leaning into the floor lower than the neck, it's going to open the upper body. So as you inhale and exhale, you're going to extend the arms overhead. So the fingers are pointing towards the wall behind you. The palms of the hands come to touch. The front ribs gather in and they pull down to the belly button. And then the palms of the hands open with just the thumb, index, middle ring, pinky finger touching, elbows widen. So you're going to go and extend. As you extend overhead, if you have a ball in between your inner thighs, gently squeeze it or just lean the feet into the floor. As you inhale, soften the feet, soften the squeeze of the ball, open the palm of the hand as the elbows widen. Just extending the left and the right side of the body. Just watching over you. Yeah, good. Feeling right foot, right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade. Slide and glide. Now let's go into chopping wood. So when the hands come over the heart, extend the arms up so the fingers point towards the ceiling. We have the pads of the thumb and the index, middle ring, pinky finger touching. A little bend at the elbow. So equal leaning of the pads of the fingers into each other. Palms of the hands are separated. Now arms are going to float down to the legs. They're going to point up towards the ceiling and a little bit overhead. So as you go overhead, root the feet, gently squeeze the ball if you're using it. Use the exhale there to help connect through some chain of muscles. Keep the shoulder blades, and in between the shoulder blades, leaning into the floor very gently to widen the heart. Notice your breath radiating and gathering back in so you arrive home. And we're just freeing the thoracic body with this one. Good. Now pause. Turn, release the hands, turn the palms of the hands to face the legs, wiggle the fingers. Touch the pad of the index to the pad of the thumb. Let the elbows bend. Middle ring, pinky fingers wiggle. And then you're going to open the arms very gently out to the side and bring the index and the thumb back towards one another. Remember, you don't need to touch. Some of you, your head can stay in center, or some of you, when you open the arms, you can turn your head very gently to one side and then back to center as the arms come towards one another. Opening, head can turn to the other side. Just as you turn your head, if you do choose to turn it, I want you to notice that both shoulder blades keep contact with the floor. Sometimes I notice in my body as I turn my head, I lift one shoulder blade or I stop rooting in between the shoulder blades. Even it out. I release the hand gesture, wiggle the fingers, wiggle the arms, let the palms of the hands face one another, then turn them to face the wall behind you. Elbows heavy. Remember, anytime if you need to rest, just rest. We're going to do the last one. So thumb can touch the middle finger to nourish all the way up through the arm, into the neck, into the jaw. Remember, that does create a little bit more energy. So if you're feeling lightheaded, I'd advise you to go to thumb to ring finger, or thumb to pinky, or thumb to ring and pinky. And you're going to open up, palms are going to face the wall behind you. So you go into owl wings 2. Head can stay in center. Head can turn, arms come back together. The head finds center line. Feel your breath. Good. Just do 1 or 2 more. Balance yourself out. Release the arms. Now, if you've got the bolster underneath you, you can use it and pause here for a moment. Bring the legs up towards you. Release the slow-mo ball if you had it, and just allow your legs to extend up in the air and just to go into a little inversion here for a little bit. If you're done on the bolster, you can press the feet down, lift the hips up, remove the bolster. Take a moment to roll the legs around. If you're in heart bed, you might extend the legs, you might bring the soles of the feet together in butterfly and just hang out there. Some of you might feel that you want to just roll out and go into a completely different pose. So this is just your chance to connect. You do bring the legs up in the air, modified shoulder stance here. Remember, you have the control of how long you want to stay here. And you take the time to move as much as you need to move, to pause, and ready to pause. Take a few conscious breaths so you can come back and gather yourself back into the moment. Noticing yourself in the here and now. And noticing how the mind can take us down many avenues, many paths. And we can gently catch the mind and just come back to the moment. And maybe you even say softly to yourself, I'm okay. Releasing. Let your breath just breathe you. Take a moment to pause. And the poem I want to share with you is honoring a Canadian First Nations poet. He's also a writer. He's left his form, but his writing still lives on. And his name is Richard Wagamese, and his book that I've been pulled back into is called Embers. And the piece I'm sharing with you today is called It's All About Opening. It's all about opening, really. When we open ourselves to the world and its possibilities, even its hurts, we become whole. But when we choose to close, our life becomes fraught with struggle. Everything we do becomes about shielding ourselves rather than inviting good energy to fill me. Everything is energy. So we try to let the negative pass through us rather than holding on to it. Everything is energy. So we try to let the negative pass through us rather than holding on to it. Take one more minute here. Thank yourself for showing up today. Noticing if there was a minute gift or cue or awareness or something that was offered today that really resonated with you. Just notice yourself coming home to yourself on the exhale, allowing yourself to open on the inhale, arriving home on the exhale. This beautiful practice of opening and coming home to yourself on each ebb and flow of breath. Might be what lingers with you throughout the day as we start to wiggle, lengthen, stretch, yawn, just taking your time. Ah, noticing a release of any props that aren't needed as you find any movements that are there before you roll over. Pause maybe on the side body. And when you're ready to sit up, feel free to sit on the floor. I've just got my bolster because it was there and it was calling to me, so I'm sitting on my bolster. If you're sitting on your bolster with me, just notice when the arms dangle beside you, the fingers may or may not touch the floor, but just let your palms be open, heart and sternum lifted as you press the pelvis down into the floor, into the bolster. Exhale out the mouth. And as you root down, you inhale and just see how high the arms want to go before the palms come together in front body and you receive into yourself. And just allow that gathering of energy and receiving. Remember that inhalation is that opening, and that exhalation is coming home as you pause your thumbs around the height of the heart on the third round. Just take a moment to align ourselves in this act of knowing together. And just coming home. And as the eyes open, maybe the head lift. Enjoy this fabulous day that is upon us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being online. Take your time to unfold.